hallway, but you got a lot of rebuilding to do. So, how do you rebuild this thing?
It's from the bottom up, man. Just like we build it, you got to rebuild it the same way. Just trying to recruit good players, teach them how to play the game and how to work hard and motivate themselves. And we've got a history here of kids developing at a pretty high rate. So if they buy into what we're trying to teach them, then I feel like we'll continue on the path we're on.
Generally speaking, you're going to have to get some production from guys that haven't given you production before. How do you approach that with some of those guys?
You know, they have to. That's kind of the evolution of a program. Is when we had all the superstars last year, the guys that were role players are supposed to learn from the superstars and how they did it, gravitate into those roles as they get older. And there's some guys that are going to have to do that, and some guys really step up when that's the case. And we definitely need that to happen this year.
Each team has an identity. I'm not sure you're in it deep enough to know what the identity of this team is going to be, but how do you think the makeup's going to be?
Makeup is good. You know, I thought our identity last year, we addressed it beginning of the year. Our starting pitching wasn't very good the year before, so we focused on that going into the fall and the spring, and felt like that was the strength of our team last year. Really don't know right now. I think offensively we have our identity is we can run at the top and the bottom of the lineup, hit the ball out of the park in the middle of the lineup. But from a pitching standpoint, it's going to be tough because there's so many guys that are going to be pitching that have never pitched before. So too early to tell on the pitching side.
So what do you know about the team at this point in time, and what don't you know? I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of unknowns at this juncture.
Yeah, you know, it's everybody's been great so far. You know, you go through the fall and you play inter-squad games, and everybody plays. When you play an inter-squad game, you have 18 happy people because you have 18 in a lineup. When you play a real game, you only have 9. So an important part of being a team player is understanding your role and how to better it and improve on it. But not everybody gets to start every game. And if guys understand that and continue to fight and battle, excuse me, the lineup at the end of the year is never the same as it was at the beginning. So you just want to have a team full of guys that continue to compete throughout the year, and got so many new pitchers that's what it's going to be. You know, going to put a guy out there and not really know how he's going to respond in front of a big crowd and a different team. And if he doesn't respond, you know, you might have to try somebody else. So everybody just needs to continue to work hard and stay positive, and hopefully you're playing your best baseball at the end.
Outside of the middle infield, do you have any of the positions figured out yet?
Yeah, we've got some. It's like McIntosh is going to be our catcher. We got a freshman in center field that you can't replace Brandon White, but you can in the lineup. You know, it's hard to do it in center field, but Victor Scott's going to be a really good player for us. You know, Zarb is back, Braden Zarbniski, who's had success on both sides of the ball, so that's going to be good for us. And you know, other than that, it's hard to tell because there's going to be pretty competitive at the other spots.
You mentioned Zarb. He's kind of a wild card because he can give you things setting the table offensively, but also pitching too. There's two and one there.
Yeah, he's been super valuable to us in the past, and I think he finished second in the nation in the Olerud Award a couple years ago, and you know, he's hit over 300 in the past and has double-digit decisions as a closer, 6 wins and 6 saves 2 years ago. He's got that experience, so one thing he's not going to do is get rattled if you flip him the ball in the 9th inning. So really, really nice to have him back.
When it comes to leadership, are you starting to see anybody kind of take the reins in that area?
Yeah, you know, McIntosh, I think, is got some leadership qualities. He's a pretty intimidating dude. You know, if you're a freshman in this program and McIntosh tells you something, it's a pretty good idea. You want to listen, you know. So I think he's done a good job. You know, but the older guys, the Doneses and Zarbs and those type of guys really need to take on that role as well.
You got a lot of innings to replace in your pitching. I mean, you just said that, but outside of Jackson, who else do you think you might go with, at least early, just as starter?
Ryan Bergert needs to be a workhorse for us. He had a great summer and pitched really well for us at the end of last season. So hopefully he's going to be a guy that every time out can give you 7+ innings once the pitch counts get up. He's a strike thrower with some quality pitches. So between him and Wolf, we need to. Those are guys that are capable, we think, of if they get hot, winning 8 to 10 games.
At this point last year, did you know the pitching depth would be as good as it was? I mean, you knew the top end of that rotation, but you'd have 4, 5, or did they just come on?
No, we felt pretty good about all those guys. We knew Manoah was going to be Manoah, and Stroud's been Mr. Steady, and Nick Snyder. Everybody was surprised about Snyder except for us. We saw what he was capable of. And we had Kessler at the back end who did great things for us. So we knew with those starting pitchers, you don't need a ton of relievers.
Mm-hmm.
If your 3 starters throw complete games on a weekend, you don't need any relievers. But that'll be different this year, I think. We're going to have to count on our bullpen a little bit more. But I kind of like our bullpen. We have 5 or 6 guys that I think can get outs against anybody on the schedule. So, but it's fitting into the role you're going to settle into has yet to be determined.
So it could be a situation of maybe get you 5 innings and then you get to situational pitching then possibly this year a little bit more?
Yeah, we talked about it in the office this morning. Early on, if the starters could just go 5 innings, we feel like we have 4 or 5 relievers that could each go an inning apiece and just weather the storm until we see where they're going to settle on the staff. So, but I'm pretty confident in 3 or 4 guys that can go out and finish a game, which you definitely have to have a guy that's capable of doing that. So if we can get to them, I feel good about it.
Generally speaking, these early games, you kind of use them to determine your lineup for the conference season. But then I guess it's a double-edged sword because you don't want to get too far. You want to win the games too. So how do you approach that?
That's the toughest part. You want to get everybody playing time early on to see what they're capable of doing, but you can't sacrifice a win while you're trying to do it. It's hard to take your best players out of the lineup when the game's hasn't been decided yet. So we just have to roll out there and see how that goes. But I think we got 11, 12 position players that we can interchange and move in and out and do some different things with. So there'll be a few lineup changes early on, but you just got to see how they do when you put them out there. They all look good in the fall and coming in, but when you play other teams, that's when you really find out.
What do you like best about this team?
I think we're a team that plays with confidence. Playing in 2 regionals in the last 3 years and hosting, now they've got a taste of it, so that'll carry over. And I think we have some speed on this team. We've got 5 or 6 guys that can steal a base if you're not paying attention, and we can continue to play that type of game and actually have some guys in the middle, I think, that can drive some runs in. So a pretty good balance offensively, I think, is going to be our strength.
Not that it's 70 outside, but it looks like the weather is going to help you at least get some practice outside. How much does that help as you go?
It helps a ton. Our indoor facility over at football is as good of a baseball indoor facility as you could ever ask for. So if we do have to go inside, it's not the end of the world because we can still do some things over there to get ready, but it's hard to duplicate a fly ball with the sky in the background when you're inside and pitchers actually towing a dirt mound and getting off the mound and covering first base. It means the world to us to get outside when we can. We've been out quite a bit, so pretty happy about that.
I guess other than extra layers of clothes, you don't have to be as creative outside as you do inside to try to get a workout in.
Yeah, inside it's everybody tries to use weather against us, and I tell them our practices in the spring are usually climate controlled with a thermostat. So pitchers usually get to throw in about 70 degrees, but if you're going to play in this, which we have to do, you have to practice in it. You can't just practice inside all the time and expect to go out in cold weather and learn how to do it. So if you're going to get good at something, you got to practice it.
I was like, I guess you can tell those recruits are going to do the same weather on opening day in the big leagues anyway, so it's the same deal.
Yeah, no doubt. And we've, anytime our saying in our program is when the weather's bad, it's advantage Mountaineers, because we feel like we've got a blue collar type of toughness that other teams don't have, and that's because we go outside on days like today and grind out practices.
New weight room, some new things over here. How much has that helped?
Oh, it helps a ton. That's been a long time in coming, and we've got some other things that we need to get. We've got a team meal room upstairs we're trying to finish, and the cages outside are next, because before we finished that weight room, we were using that as an indoor place to hit. So now that we've got the weight room, we don't have an indoor place to hit over here. So that's a huge need for our program. But yeah, we're the evolution of a program, man. I talk about it all the time, and facilities are a big part of it, and we're continuing to get better in that area.
But overall, you've got some momentum right now with the program, coming off probably arguably the best season in school history. All those pro guys, there's a lot of things going on right now in there.
Yeah, looking at this thing from the outside, again, I talk about the evolution of a program, and you don't want to be a one-hit wonder, so to speak, and have one great year and then not see it again for 20 years. You want to build a program, and I think we've done that. We've played in the Big 12 championship game 2 out of the last 3 years, and regionals 2 out of the last 3 years, and we're developing kids, and they're signing pro, and we're building a program. And when you do that, you have to sustain the level that you reach and then try and progress from there. And I think that's where we are right now. I think one of the polls had us in the top 20 preseason, and that's just a testament to what happens when you lose 8 guys that sign pro. You can still have a good team coming back.
And obviously, you've been at places where other schools have gotten up for your teams, and and that's going to be kind of the deal now with you guys. When you play locally, the teams are going to want to beat the Mountaineers.
Yeah, that's that wasn't the case when we first got here. That was talk about advantage Mountaineers, having those Big 12 teams come to Hollyfield that one year and get off the bus and want to get right back on. It's none of them really played that well when they came to Morgantown, but I don't think that's the case now, because we've beaten a lot of teams, and I think they know they have to show up and play if they're going to beat us. But that makes for great competition and great games for fans, and that's where we wanted this program to be, and I think that's where we are.
Are your kids aware of that people are going to be gunning for them now, whereas before that wasn't always necessarily the case?
Yeah, you talk to them about it all the time, and if you're going to be a champion, you can't take a day off. Even if we have a day off from practice, you can't take a day off from sleep or nutrition, that type of thing. So you have to learn how to motivate yourself every day, regardless of who you're playing. But nobody's going to come in here and take us lightly anymore, or expect that they're going to have an easy game, because I don't know, you guys might know more than I do, but our record in midweek games the last 2 or 3 years is phenomenal, and we're winning a lot of games in our region over the local teams, and that really helps us recruiting in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Just out of curiosity, when it comes to roster numbers, after losing 8 guys to the draft, do you have to do anything special to kind of restock the numbers? And as that could be recruiting more in future recruiting classes, or maybe adding junior college guys.
Yeah, a big part of our job is to try and project who you're going to lose a year or two in advance. We kind of figured when Manoa got here that he was only going to be here for 3 years instead of 4, and when Snyder, 6'7" left-hander with an arm like that, started pitching well, you kind of project that he's not going to be back as a senior, and sometimes you get surprised at the end. But part of our job, which makes it difficult, is trying to figure out the draft 2 years in advance. It's hard to figure it out the day you see it, let alone 2 years in advance. But that's what successful teams are able to do, is figure out who's coming back and who isn't, and not have a gap in there as far as replacing them. So, but I think we're in a pretty good place as far as that goes.
You hear roster management so much now. That's a big part of the game, as far as keeping your roster intact, and also
Yeah, it's like I just said, we had lost those 8 guys last year, and incoming high school guys that sign pros. So
Yeah.
you never know from one year to the next what your team's going to look like. You just gotta hope for the best and feel like you got a guy at every position, and I think we do right now.
Transfers. What's your opinion on those? What's your thoughts? How do you deal with transfers and bringing transfers in?
I mean, I kind of like the fact that kids have the ability to transfer and play. I think 90% of the time it's in the best interest of the kid.
Okay.
10% of the time, I think there are some shenanigans going on behind closed doors that I would like to eliminate because, guys, stealing kids off other rosters. I think that should really come to an end somehow, some way. How that is, I don't know, but yeah, it's I don't mind it. There's some kids that transfer out of here to other places that's really good for them. And some kids that transfer in here from other places that's really good for them.
Yeah.
But the instances where it's done underhandedly is what I really don't like, and I wish we could find a way to abolish that part of it.
Big 12 preseason poll came out today. You guys were picked 7th, had one first place vote. Just what are your thoughts on that?
That's good. I wish they would pick us 9th every year. It's a lot easier to play as the underdog than it is as the favorite. Your kids get fired up as the underdog every game. So, if you guys remember that first year, we were picked to finish last. We had every last place vote by everybody who had a vote. So, and that was a good day for our program because we ended up finishing 3rd that year. So, I think no matter what happens every year, the teams with the tradition, the Texases and Oklahomas and TCUs and Texas Techs, they're going to get picked ahead of us no matter what. I just think that's West Virginia fighting for national respect across the board in all sports type thing, and we're no different. But I really enjoy when people underestimate the Mountaineers.
I know you use that for your motivation for your team, but are you wondering who gave you that first place vote?
Yeah, I know who it was, and they do it every year. And I do the same thing to them. So it's no secret, but yeah, it's you look at the all preseason all conference team, and we hardly have anybody on it. And we've got some really good players in the program, and that's good. That serves to fire people up when people don't think you're very good at something and you actually are. It gives you an opportunity to ambush some people. So that's where we are again.
Very good. Thank you.